DFINITY, so IPC. Warm applause.
Thank you. Hello, guys. This is Clement from DFINITY Foundation, and I'm feeling the vibe that it's pretty chatty, so I'm not going to bother you with presentation. I would rather keep it a little bit more conversational. So what I do at DFINITY is we run special projects, which basically means running crazy ideas against the markets and seeing what sticks. And another pretty cool part is global adoption programs. So we are running community grants and ICP hubs. But the reason why I'm here today and what I'd like to chat with you about is about the multi-chain future and the perception that it is now. It's way closer than we might think it. So you guys been asking pretty good questions to the previous speaker, so I'll just throw it right here and see if this works for us as well. Who could raise hands here? Who is building on Ethereum? Okay, not as many as I would think. Then who is building on Solana? Right, more or less same people. Tezos? Nobody from Tezos. Cool, so why is that? Why is it that we have more builders in the Ethereum community than in Tezos community? So first one would be the obvious, the brand loyalty perspective. First mover advantage, like, hey, Ethereum introduced smart contracts the first, so I'm gonna stick with them. Or Solana, hey, they introduced zero gas fees, so I like that. I'm gonna be loyal to them. Despite the fact that 3 years later, there's many platforms that can offer you the same, I'm gonna stick with Solana just because I like the colors, you know? So then why is it, how can we expand beyond that and really build the products, the apps, businesses in Web3 that actually make sense and do not dry out because of the liquidity, right? So that's what we bring the conversation to, the multi-chain versus cross-chain, right? And anyone here is doing something in cross-chain or dealt with it? Nobody. Great, because it's painful, it's expensive, and it's insecure. So there's a lot of bridges that have been hacked, and we definitely don't want that, right, when you're building your product. So that brings us to another part of the story, which is multi-chain, which is basically the concept of, hey, how about we have different blockchains that work together without caring about a third party that might be breached and hacked, yeah? And when we talk about multi-chain, there's few players really that do something in that field, and please shout out the name if I forget any. So there is Cosmos. Have you guys heard of Cosmos? Any noise? Cosmos? Okay. Have you heard of Polkadot? Yeah. Yay, more people heard of Polkadot. Great. So, and what is the difference between Cosmos vision for blockchain interoperability and Cosmos and Polkadot? Polkadot introduces the parachains. Love the guys, love the concept, but overly complicated. And Polkadot guys are really proud of it. It's complicated, but it's not for everybody. And for Cosmos, great, easier scalability, but then there's not much traction going on. And there's a third player that, to the best of my knowledge, that there is in the market, which is ICP. If there's anything else, just tell me, because that's the best to my knowledge. So what is the vision of ICP? Instead of building the multi-chain future where there's just chains that work together within one ecosystem, we are seeing the future where one ecosystem can be talking to another ecosystem without caring much about security because it's integrated on a protocol level. And that's fundamentally that we are pushing for, and something that not easy, but we are on track that not many players can follow. So, multi-chain multi-chain with ICP. So when I'm saying that not many players can follow is that not many people know, but actually ICP already enrolled the integration with Bitcoin. So as of now, earlier this year, we enrolled that, and as of now, on a protocol level, ICP can talk directly to the Bitcoin network without any bridges, smart contracts talking to the protocol, which is amazing because you could bridge you could use the assets and suck the liquidity from Bitcoin network to another ecosystem. Forget about ICP, just use the concept of the one ecosystem using the assets of another ecosystem on a native level. That's great. So that is done. That's the track record. What else? Ethereum is coming up. 80% of the work is done. EVM is coming up in 2 weeks. So that would be the next thing. And the reason why it matters is this. Let's think about it. Why do we really need multi-chain? The doom and gloom scenario, another black swan kind of story, yeah? Global event, everyone is like in fear, and liquidity is sucking out. So is drying out, right? So then you spend like 2 years building a project on Avalanche, and now all of a sudden there's less liquidity. So what do? There's not much you can do. You either bridge you either change the gears completely to different ecosystem and hope that it's not gonna dry out, or you're just hoping for the best. What is another scenario? Why do we need multi-chain really? Is for more aggressive growth. If you're an ambitious project and you're not just simply happy with one ecosystem, then you can tap into different ones, right? And that before was a like alien idea that you couldn't really do. So why do we care about what's the limiting factors of you growing your project? Let's say we started with Avalanche. Let's say you start building your product on Avalanche. The growth that is defined for your project is by the market liquidity, by the ecosystem liquidity, and by ecosystem active wallet users. Only much as that, right? So good luck bringing users from Solana to your Avalanche dApp. The acquisition cost is going to be just ridiculous. So this is exactly where the vision for multi-chain is crucial and can bring you some extra value. Then for the use cases, let's think what could be the use case? Any good use case for multi-chain or cross-chain solutions? Why do we want that in first place? Any thoughts? Scalability. Why do you need scalability for? Because it's what? Everything is expensive on Ethereum. Okay. So like what is kind of a product that you could build that could benefit out of having more users or more liquidity? Yeah. Basically any project, yeah? Like the most obvious fit would be DeFi because it's easier to grasp. It's like I'm taking the asset from Cosmos ecosystem and then bringing it to this ecosystem, and then I don't have to worry about bridging. Sounds great. Digital twins instead of the wrapped copies. What's the difference? Difference is as of now up until earlier this year, there was no solution to the problem of digital twins in one ecosystem. So let's say you want to have your ETH going faster, so then you wrap it, yeah? And you use wrapped ETH to transact with your folks. The problem with that is that there is a centralized entity that is involved in between you and your asset. So whenever you're giving your Bitcoin or Ethereum to somebody to get wrapped ETH, there's company in between that would hold on to your asset and give you the wrapped version of it, and you just have to trust that they're gonna be doing all right, yeah? So that's a problem. In our case, what we realized that actually we can pull off the native integration where there is pure technology, where there is no human intervention in between digital twins creation, right? So then there's Ethereum and there's CK Ethereum, chain key Ethereum, right? In our case, there's Bitcoin and chain key Bitcoin. And then you don't have to trust people, you just have to trust the code, which is a trustless idea behind Web3 to begin with. So that is pretty cool. But what's next? On top of that, you can build business models that have not been developed yet because we are so autistic in the way we build. If I'm building here, I belong to this camp, and I cannot hang out with the guys from Solana because they're against us, right? In this scenario, you could build more and expand more aggressively, which should be of a concern, which should be of a priority for the projects if we are talking about healthy development and not a bubble development. So then I'd like to just close it up with this simple comparison. Anyone heard of the concept of open economy? Yeah, we take it for granted because it happened like 100 years ago, yeah? But up until then, it was not a thing. Everyone was running their domestic economies and not much into trading. So you would be limited to the diplomatic relationship, the legal framework and law and the relationship and everything. And in 19th century, we got this concept of open economy, and it was only possible because there was a framework developed for such things. So then we started trading with each other and so on and so forth. So this is exactly what is happening right now. Up until now, there is no such open economy going on between the ecosystems in a secure way, because the moment you start thinking about, oh, I'll arrange my assets, then there's inevitable risk involved. So no one's going to take you for like seriously the project with that mind of thinking. But this is what is happening right now. Multi-chain in crypto can be what open economy is to the global businesses back 100 years ago. Also, multi-chain is not a wish, but it's a prosperity need for projects to grow. So then developers are not in projects and products are not desperately jumping the ship when something happens within your initial ecosystem. So then, if we are saying that you're a developer, project, institution, or a degen, wouldn't it be great if we all can just join this movement and think about it like, how can we be more open and more collaborative in the way we build? So then, following the open source mentality, we just spread innovation instead of locking it up within the walls of this coding language or that ecosystem. So that would be pretty much it for me. That's all I wanted to share with you guys. I just wanted to have it in more of a conversational level because other folks have been sharing amazing presentations. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to take those. Meanwhile, let's see if the magic works. Magic works. A few stats on what is it in it for Ethereum guys to even like integrate it. So 100% on-chain Web3 storage is a nice feature to have. I'm not going to dive too deep into it because it's a little bit nerdy and maybe not for everybody. Gasless token swaps and extended DAO functionality. There was a brilliant talk like earlier today about DAOs and the legal framework for it. But if we think about it from the technical perspective, a lot of DAOs still, till this day, don't have the execution layer being on-chain. The voting is happening on-chain, but the actual execution is still happening manually with someone clicking the button. And that's still the dependency on people that we could eliminate if we just have such of a goal. So as I said, if you are into pushing the limits of the growth of your project or have crazy ideas, feel free to reach out. We are very keen to have constructive talks and shape the future together. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, we have a question.
A very cool presentation. Actually, can you tell a little more about the bridge to Bitcoin? That actually you can somehow bridge the Bitcoin to ICP without a bridge. So you don't have, and the bridge to Ethereum is going to work the same way, that you can bridge without a bridge.
Yeah, so that's exactly the case. There is bridge without a bridge. We don't use that vocabulary because it's a native integration. Native integration meaning that the contracts, our smart contracts that we call canisters, they speak to the Bitcoin network directly. So they're not dependent on an input from centralized entity in between on what to interpret. In theory, anyone could have done that if they put a lot of, enough of R&D resources into it, but it just happened to be that we were in the right place with the right talent to pull it off. So effectively with Bitcoin right now, we have collaboration with if you guys know Lugano, like there's a little city in Switzerland, they're really pushy on Bitcoin and what it means to the economy. So they have app where you could use, every citizen could use the Bitcoin. So we got integration with them, and now they're using Bitcoin Twin on ICP, which is called CKBTC, to transact at stores and use it in daily life. So that is one of the use cases that we are having right now, and there is many more coming up. For Ethereum, we are just following the same track, but for Ethereum, what is really interesting is that it was 100% community driven, although it was on a roadmap for us for a long time. Then at some point, once we started getting some traction with Bitcoin, we had a community coming up from China and saying like, hey, here's the way how it could be done. So it's community effort and been going pretty good so far.
Thank you.
Thank you for the great presentation. So technically, your application can interact with an RPC node, right? It's not a node that you had to redevelop that is running as a canister, yeah? So it's a canister app that is communicating somehow with a Bitcoin node, and the same way it will communicate with it.
Yeah. So there is a canister smart contract, just to let there be no confusion. In ICP, smart contracts we call canisters. So there's a canister minter that could mint and participate in block validation. There's a canister that would be that is holding public keys, and that public keys decentralized across the subnet, across the network.
Mm-hmm. So what EVM chains Plenty supports? It's not just Ethereum mainnet, yeah? Potentially maybe Polygon, Arbitrum, anything like this. No?
Yeah, so EVM is being built by the community members as well. They're calling it DFINITY. Let's see if we could scroll it down here, or maybe later. So DFINITY is pushing out the EVM in 2 weeks, and then I don't have much visibility on what are the future steps going to be like in terms of supporting L2s or something.
But it's not just to make wrap versions of tokens, right? It can communicate with arbitrary smart contract, between two.
That's the
wells,
direction, yeah. That's the direction. As of now, we'd be really happy if by the end of the year we've reached the milestone of having really quality and no trouble integration with Ethereum, right? And that's pretty viable. And then early in next year, there should be definitely exploration for Arbitrum, Polygon, interoperability as well.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So can ICP send transactions to Bitcoin?
Yeah. So smart contract on ICP could participate in block validation and basically transacting on behalf. So you can code it that this smart contract can transact with Bitcoin and there's no need for a person to actually click it.
So you can store private key in your ICP?
That's what's happening, yeah. So
Okay.
private keys are held in a decentralized manner.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Cool. If there is no further questions, I would call it a day.
Warm applause for Clement.
Thank you.